Hello, welcome to episode 80 of Mouth Dancing, hosted by Young. Wow, 80 episodes. I'm really proud of myself. I'm gonna give myself a pat on the back. Did you hear that? That was more than one pat, actually. It was like a few. I think usually when people pat each other on the back, it's more than one pat, so we should say, instead of give someone a pat on the back, we should say give them some pats on the back, because that's usually what happens. No one usually literally taps someone just once on the back, right? It's usually like, good boy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 taps. Right? Or good girl. Doesn't have to be a boy, because that's sexist. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about the moon landing. There are a lot of conspiracy theories swirling around it. A lot of people out there think it's a hoax. It never really happened. And they have, lots of reasons for why they think this. First, the technology back then just wasn't good enough, right? Like the rockets and the oxygen and the space suits. Not just getting there, but also coming back to Earth was a very perilous journey, and a lot of people believe that the technology back then just wasn't up to snuff. I mean, even now it would be a really tough thing to do, so back then it would have been way harder. And a lot of people think the whole thing was just filmed in a studio, like a Hollywood studio, using like a fake landscape and fake backdrops. And they say they have proof of this because the pictures just don't look real. The shadows are weird. And the landscape itself, there are things about it that seem off. And also people say, how would, they have survived in that atmosphere back then? Without the proper technology. They probably wouldn't have. And people say, well, why would they do this? Why would they go do all this work to fake a landing on the moon? Well, it's because of the Cold War. America was in serious competition with the USSR back then, the space race. And America had to beat, these commie Russians, who are just evil, and America has to be number one, right? So they filmed this whole fake moon landing as propaganda that the US is number one and that the US is winning the space race. I think it worked too. Most people believe that it was real. America did sort of win the Cold War, didn't it? I don't know, what do you think? Do you think the moon landing was real? I also kind of think it was fake. I saw a picture online recently where they showed the astronauts on the moon, supposedly, right? Standing next to their rover thing or whatever it is. This like vehicle that they were using on the moon. And they don't have their helmets on. Wouldn't their freaking heads have exploded if they didn't have their helmets on or something? I don't know how that works. I'm not like a space guy, I don't really know about space travel or astronauts or the equipment they use, but if they took their helmets off on the moon, I think that would be a problem. They probably couldn't breathe, for one, right? And they would be breathing in all that moon dust. It's probably got like poison in it or heroin or something. I don't know I don't know what's in moon dust exactly. It's probably different from Earth dust, right? And if these guys were on the moon, like, where's the evidence now? Like, if you take a picture of the moon, are you going to be able to see their footprints? Or the flag they supposedly put on the moon? Where did the flag go, right? When I look up at the moon, to me it doesn't look like something that anyone has ever traveled to. It just looks like uninhabited, unexplored terrain. And I just have a gut feeling that it didn't really happen. There's a lot of evidence that it didn't happen. And I've read the rebuttals, they're like, well, actually, here's why that's wrong. And they weren't very convincing. The evidence that it didn't happen was way more convincing to me. It just sounded like, the CIA or FBI or whatever, the US government was just making shit up. They're like, oh no, actually, here's why that's totally plausible. Why we actually went to the moon, and I'll tell you why. Then they give you some mumbo-jumbo explanation about it. And this sounds like BS. I suggest you all look into it yourselves. Because there's something fishy about it, I smell a rat. And fish and rats are bad things. Supposedly, right? In our idiomatic language. And another thing I wanted to talk about is long COVID. I think I might have that because ever since COVID started, my life just went to shit, basically. It's like before COVID, I was really cool. I was really rich. I was really good looking. And I had too many friends to count. But ever since COVID, all that went out the door. I became uncool. I became ugly. I became poor. I became overweight and out of shape. And yeah, just everything, for me went in the wrong direction. And I think it's because of COVID. I think that's what long COVID is, right? It's like I used to be cool, but now I'm not. Well, who's the culprit here? Probably COVID-19. Does anyone else feel this way? I mean, the pandemic, it didn't just cause illnesses and death and the crashing of the economy all over the world and people having to wear masks and use hand sanitizer and socially distance from one another. It had a lot of effects on people's lives at a personal level too. Like before the pandemic, Leonardo DiCaprio was dating only 25-year-olds. But now he's dating someone who's like 27, which is pretty old. I don't know. At that point, you're dating a grandma's, right? I mean, that's what COVID does to people. I mean, how else can you explain these phenomena, basically, is what I'm asking. And it all boils down to the coronavirus. So thanks for that, China. That's your fault. You guys ate like a marsupial or something, and then, boom, everything went to shit. It's all China's fault. And yeah, I'm pretty pissed about it. As most red-blooded Americans are. And I think a lot of you listening out there feel the same way. And finally, I wanted to talk about yogurt boxes. Do you ever buy a box of yogurt at Costco or somewhere like that? They have like assorted flavors inside. Lately I've been getting the Elenos ones. Those are pretty good. They taste kind of like dessert. Like they're kind of sweet. They taste almost like a custard or something like that. They're really good though, and I don't know if they're as healthy as regular yogurt. I think they are. They're probably just made differently. It's like Greek yogurt. I also bought a box of Yoplait assorted yogurt. And in both cases, there's vanilla is one of the flavors in the box. And that is probably the worst flavor in the yogurt box. It seems like a filler almost. Like back in the day when you'd buy an album and like half the songs were just crap. People would just call them filler songs, right? It's kind of like what these vanilla yogurts are. They're just fillers and they don't taste as good. I kind of dread when I get to the vanilla flavor. I'm like, oh, I'll just eat this so I can get it out of the way and eat the good flavors later. Vanilla yogurt is just kind of gross for some reason. I think I'd rather have plain. That the vanilla plus yogurt blend is not that good in my opinion, no matter what brand you're eating. So they should just do away with it. But, it could be intentional too, actually. Like, let's fill these yogurt boxes with this kind of gross flavor and then sell it. They make a lot of money that way, right? If they make them all just the really good fruit flavors or whatever, it would probably cost the company a lot more to make them. And they would have to sell them probably at the same price. So that's why they don't do that. That's why they put yogurt in there. It's a filler flavor. We needed to get the word out to everyone that we don't want vanilla in there. Okay? I'm talking to you, Elenos, and I'm talking to you, Yoplait, and just whatever yogurt companies are out there making these mixed flavor boxes and putting vanilla in there for like a third of the flavors or a third of the yogurt in there. That's a lot. At the most, it should be like, 1/8 of the flavors in there. That's what you should do. Maybe increase the number of flavors in there. And you could still put vanilla in there, but it would just be like a way smaller fraction of the total yogurt. Because it's kind of just gross and icky. Or here's a solution. Replace it with plain yogurt. I think most people would prefer that to vanilla. At least I would. I think a lot of people would agree with me on that. So I'm actually trying to help you guys out here. That would be good for your business too. That's what this podcast is all about, is public service. Not just for regular people listening, but also corporations. Because I sympathize with them. They get a bad rap. People are always like talking trash about corporations, but corporations are the lifeblood and the backbone and, the soul of America, basically. I want to tip my hat to them. Thank you for existing. Anyways, I think that's it for this week. Enjoy your day and enjoy your week. Enjoy your month. Enjoy your year. Enjoy your decade and beyond. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye.